That's 800-732-9635.
Live from San Francisco on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network, you are listening to Wrestling Observer Live.
Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's get it on.
It is indeed. It is indeed Wrestling Observer Live. It's Jim Valley. We're live 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. And Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. As I mentioned, it's Jim Valley, and how was your week? Well, SmackDown wasn't a bad show, but it probably can't compare to the next season of Total Bellas. Very excited for that. You know, I usually treat the first few minutes of Wrestling Observer Live Saturday sort of like a monologue. I recap some things, make some jokes, some observations, and you'd think that I'd say something like, with Stephanie McMahon as interim CEO of WWE, you could say that it took 21 years, but the ECW WCW alliance finally won. But I'm not going to say that. Also sort of reminds me of the 90s movie with Robert Redford and Woody Harrelson and Demi Moore, Indecent Proposal. Would you sleep with Vince McMahon for $3 million? Honestly, I'm not feeling that funny today. Who says I'm funny any day for that matter? But I turned 53 on Thursday, and Vince McMahon is more than 20 years older than me. He's obviously made more money. He certainly had more successes. Some would say maybe more advantages, but on the flip side, maybe he's made some more mistakes. Definitely more public mistakes. But one thing for certain, Vince McMahon is a man of incredible appetites. Maybe even insatiable appetites. He's got billions of dollars and billions in assets. He works nonstop. He produces countless hours of content for TV shows, live events, premium live events, programming for Peacock and other partners. And he's talked about his infidelities in the past. He's got a competitive side. The point is how much more does he need? When is it gonna stop? When is enough enough? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Brock, Forbidden Door, maybe even get around to Dixie Carter and Sasha Banks. But we'll talk about Vince first. It's Jim Valley, Wrestling Observer Live, Sports Byline Broadcasting Network.
Do you want to know the...
You're clear.
All righty. What fun. Oh, can I have the sound? All right. Hey, can I get the sound?
9093. 800-298-9093. That's 800-298-9093.
All right. What fun.
Has someone in your family lost a job recently, and now you can't afford your mortgage payment? Or do you have a rental property and your tenants aren't paying you? We can come to the rescue and pay you cash for your home immediately. Yes, sell your home and get cash all over the phone without dealing with real estate agents or having to waste time showing your home to lukewarm buyers. You don't need to lose your house to foreclosure. If you have equity in your home, we'll buy your home and give you cash within days, all in a simple over-the-phone and virtual process. Call now before your situation gets worse. Sell a home you can't afford or just need anymore and get the cash you need today. Call this number now.
800 950 8218. 800 950 8218. 800 950 8218. That's 800 950 8218. Paid for by Want to Sell.
Hi, Marsha Hawkins here of Elevating with Marsha. Please stop by marshahawkinsagency.com. We're a full-service multi-line agency, and we offer a unique product called Indexed Universal Life Insurance. It's not your typical life insurance policy. Learn how you can pull money out tax-free in retirement with an Indexed Universal Life product. Please check out marshahawkinsagency.com and book a consultation today. marshahawkinsagency.com.
Have you ever wished the student athlete in your family could play baseball against teams in the Caribbean? Well, now they can set sail and do just that with Team Avenue Baseball on one of its iconic Caribbean cruise camps. That's right. If they love baseball and want an experience they'll never forget, then you need to call 559-321-6701 or visit teamavenuebaseball.com right now. Founded by former pro ball players, teamavenuebaseball.com will lead to the baseball adventure of a lifetime. Call 559-321-6701 now.
You are listening to Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network.
It's Jim Valley. It's Wrestling Observer Live. Want to mention real quick, I'm going to be gone next Saturday. So next week will probably be a rerun of something else, maybe Brian or whatever. But I'll be back the week after, so don't panic if I'm not here next week. I shouldn't be. I'm going to be gone and out of the country with my lovely wife and some friends. So there we go. By the way, I've been getting in the habit of showing this show, simulcasting it on my YouTube channel. So if you're watching it on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe and get your friends to subscribe. Help my numbers go up. If you could do that for me, that would be great. Hit that like, smash that subscribe button, as all the kids say. Anyway, hey, I've mentioned before in the past that one of my favorite podcasts is Stick to Wrestling with my good friend John McAdam. And this week, another good friend of mine, Frank Culbertson, is on Stick to Wrestling, talking about his history watching Portland wrestling and with Portland wrestling that goes back to the mid-'60s. He's also promoting a new book he played a role in that Mike Rogers wrote called Katie Bar the Door, the history of Portland wrestling. So be sure to check out the book and check out Stick to Wrestling with my friend Frank Culbertson. Love Stick to Wrestling. I check it out each and every week. And if you like classic wrestling, I think you'll enjoy it as well. It's always on my must-listen list. Sad news. Legendary referee and pro wrestling personality Dave Hebner passed away at the age of 73 after suffering from Parkinson's disease. Dave began refereeing in the late 1970s around the Virginia area where he grew up. He was a fan of Mid-Atlantic wrestling, the likes of George Becker and Johnny Weaver, Ole and Gene Anderson, and he began helping by setting up the ring, and the rest is history. By the 1980s, he'd been hired by the then WWF and was front and center some of the most famous matches in WWF history, including Randy Savage versus Ricky Steamboat at WrestleMania 3, and the main event of Randy Savage versus Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 5. And of course, he and his brother Earl are famous for the twin referee angle that took place on the main event, on the match between Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant, seen on NBC by over 33 million people, which is a big deal. Don't get me wrong, 33 million people is a lot of people, and it's a big deal if you were a kid and you're now in your 40s, but you probably won't believe this, but back in 1988, 33 million people was like not even in the top 10 of shows. It was like, again, right around like in the top 30, top 40 shows of the week, which is hard to believe, but it's true. And This has been quite a week. If this was a normal week, I'd normally be talking about how Reigns beat Riddle on SmackDown, only to set up Brock Lesnar's return for a last man standing match at SummerSlam. Also on SmackDown, it was announced that both Drew McIntyre and Sheamus qualified for the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. Also, Raquel Rodriguez defeated Shayna Baszler to qualify for the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Or maybe we talk about how Dixie Carter is coming back this weekend for Sunday Slammiversary for the 20th anniversary of Impact/TNA Wrestling. But this is not a normal week. You've probably heard by now the Wall Street Journal reported that the WWE Board of Directors is investigating accusations of payoffs made by Vince McMahon to multiple women that he and head of talent relations John Laurinaitis may be paid off to women, or at least one woman, to keep them quiet. John Laurinaitis, as you know, is married to the mother of the Bella twins, and he, I don't know, definitely gives a new meaning to the term people power. Really looking forward to the next season of Total Bellas. I don't know. You know, the start of the investigation into this story, according to the Wall Street Journal, started March 30th, when board members were sent an email that Vince agreed to pay $3 million to a 41-year-old woman who worked as a paralegal and then later as an assistant to Laurinaitis. Now, this email was anonymous, stating to be from a friend of the woman. Should probably use air quotes. People like this usually are not your friend. But anyway, well, the payoff itself is notable. It apparently came from McMahon's personal funds and not from the company, which is a key distinction. But what could be more dangerous of a revelation is that the article and the letter apparently said that McMahon hired the woman at $100,000 a year in 2019, then increased that figure to $200,000 after they began having a sexual relationship. Now, if that's true, that's company funds and a giant impropriety. Now, if her raise can be tied to her affair, Vince McMahon's future could be in jeopardy. We'll see. I don't know. Vince came out last night on SmackDown, came out, strutted to the ring, even sort of sang along to his No Chance in Hell theme song. I had a friend who was at the show, and he said Vince was 100% a babyface as he gave his tagline, the then, now, forever, together, and then got 100% cheers, and then left the ring, and that was the end of Vince. And at the end of the show, Roman Reigns beat Riddle in a title match. Then Brock Lesnar came out, laid out the bloodline, including Roman, setting up a last man standing match for SummerSlam. You know, McMahon temporarily steps aside during this investigation. Stephanie McMahon has been named interim CEO, and that's really kind of the big story. You know, as I mentioned, I turned 53 on Thursday. As you know, I've had many health struggles in my life with my autoimmune disease, and I need a kidney transplant. And a few weeks ago, I met with the local kidney transplant team at the University of Washington Medical Center in Seattle, and the meeting didn't go like I thought it would. It hit me pretty hard. I may or may not be a candidate for a kidney transplant, and that hit me pretty hard. And maybe it's going to happen, maybe it won't. The point is that it hit me pretty hard. And at a time when many people are my age are preparing for retirement, I'm just trying to survive. I've kind of looked at myself and how I've spent my life, and a lot of people my age do, with their remaining time. And life is about stages. I want to talk about the stages Vince McMahon is in. We'll talk about that and more. It's Wrestling Observer Live, Jim Valley, Sports Byline Broadcasting.
You're clear.
There's nothing that I won't try. Butterflies in the eyes and the looks to kill.
Are you 60 plus and love to travel? Introducing the Senior Travel Discount Network, brought to you by Low Cost Airlines. Call us anytime, day or night, and save up to 75% on your airline and hotel reservations. We can help you save a ton of money to fly almost anywhere. We have inside.
Ryan in Cumberland is on line one.
You know what he
hotels
wants?
Worldwide. And when you call,
I'll ask. Hold on.
code 60 plus, we'll give you an extra free night with your qualified air and hotel reservation. Now you can get the best prices on air and hotel reservations with your phone. We make it easy and fast for you to save money and book a trip. Remember, call the Senior Travel Discount Network. Mention the discount code 60 plus for your free hotel night with your qualified reservation. Call now.
800-493.
Said he wants to talk about the AEW pay-per-view.
Okay, I'll probably hold him over.
800.
Okay.
Thanks,
36118. That's 800-493-6118.
Okay, we are running a car drive right now to help veterans all across America. So if you have an old car, truck,
Here's a birthday
or van,
present
even a
I got.
motorcycle or an
Look at
RV
that.
sitting around,
A
you can
new-
right now give it away and help the vets. They really need your help. And your car
Matches.
will help support the vets and their families. And guess what? You even get a tax donation. Plus,
Oops.
we'll even come and pick up your car
Matches
for
on the
free.
kitchen.
And all you've got to do is pick up your phone right now and make a free call. Now
Yeah.
is the perfect time to do something good for the vets. Give back to the vets right now for all they've done for this country. And your old car can really help them. So call the Veterans Car Donation Program right now for free pickup of
I'm a
your
belt
vehicle. Help the vets and help your
Crap,
taxes
I
at
gotta
the same time. Call right now.
800-215-6812. 800-215-6812. 800-215-6812. That's 800-215-6812.
Have you ever met a single person in your life that enjoys paying taxes? No, no one does. If you can't sleep at night because you have a huge problem with the IRS, I've got some free advice for you. This service is strictly limited to individuals that owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes. And if you qualify, we can guarantee that you won't be writing a big fat check to the IRS, or our services cost you nothing. The first 100 people that call today will get a free tax consultation worth $500.
I agree, the new bill is gonna
Stop
bother me.
worrying about your IRS problem. We can help you, we promise. Call the tax doctor right now. I mean right now, to learn more.
800-391-8713. 800-391-8713. 800-391-8713. That's 800-391-8713.
You are listening to Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network.
If you're watching on YouTube, I'm showing off my mini belt collection. For my birthday, someone gave me a keychain of the new IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. Not my favorite belt design, but I've got all the other belts on keychains. So thanks to my friend Brent for giving me this, and I'm showing off my version 3. I've got a pillow that I bought at Tokyo Dome. I don't know if you can hear that, but I'm showing that on my YouTube channel. So go to my YouTube and like and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button, as the kids say. I appreciate that. Hey, Ryan, I know you're there. stay on the line. I'll get to you in a minute. But before we get to Ryan, I want to talk about Vince McMahon. And, life is about stages. It's almost like a conveyor belt. You spend the first part of your life learning, then applying what you've learned in theory as you go forward. And sometimes you do things that are wrong that go against what you know to be right. But sometimes you got to make those mistakes yourself and learn yourself. You got to learn by doing as opposed to being told. One thing I think people sometimes need to learn for themselves is you shouldn't swim in the company pool. But look, it's going to happen. People date at work. I've dated at work in the past. Sometimes you can be cool after a relationship falls apart. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins got married. They have a daughter that seemingly has worked out beautifully. Good for them. But, whether you fish in the company pond or not, dating a colleague, whether they're at the same level as you or in a different department, that's one thing. But having a relationship with a supervisor or someone who reports to you is quite different. That power dynamic makes it all wrong. Now, according to reports, Vince McMahon hired this woman at $100,000 a year in 2019. And then increased that figure, doubled that figure to $200,000 after they began having a sexual relationship. And if that's true, that's company funds. And that is a big impropriety. If that raise can be tied to her affair, in theory, Vince McMahon's future could be in jeopardy. Now, look, I want to make something clear. I'm not a perfect person, but I'm not rich enough or famous enough or influential enough to have a show, to warrant a show about my mistakes in life. But Vince McMahon is. There are a lot of things we don't know about this relationship or about the woman or women involved. But I think it's safe to say, regardless, if you're 41 years old, you know what you're doing. To quote one of my favorite movies, Jerry Maguire, at 41, you've been to the puppet show and you've seen the strings. Now, certainly, she can still be a victim, a well-paid victim. But we just don't know to what level. But in my opinion, we're victim or not, at 41, you can still be you should still know better. And you should definitely know better at age 75. My situation, my health, has caused me to reflect on life. Certainly I've made mistakes, and I'd like to think I'm a better person at 53 than I was at 23 or even 43. And if I live long enough, I don't know if I'm going to take those odds, but I'd like to think that I'm going to learn more and I'm going to be a better person at 73. Vince McMahon has worked very hard. I take nothing away from that. He dreamed big. He achieved big. He also failed big at times. The XFL twice, making various blockbuster movies and basically everything outside of the world of wrestling. And at 77, here's my question. What more do you need? Is that woman the hottest 41-year-old of all time? The hottest woman on the planet? She's just so compelling that you just can't say no? Or is this just another example of Vince McMahon's ego being out of control and his lack of self-control? Actor Jim Carrey recently made headlines by saying that he's retiring. Whether he is or not, that's yet to be seen. But for the sake of argument, let's take him at face value and take him at his word. And let's say that he is retiring. In the mid-90s, Jim Carrey hit it big with Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, a low budget movie that was a huge blockbuster and made incredible money simply based on Carrey's creativity, his charisma, and his brilliance and his manic brand of physical comedy. He became Hollywood's first $20 million man, an unprecedented salary for a movie at a time. He had huge successes. He was the Jerry Lewis of his generation. Certainly, he's had some failures as well, like most actors, but recently he's had a huge comeback with the Sonic movies, reminding people of just how brilliant he is. You know, he's enthralled a whole new generation, like Brian's kids. But instead, Jim Carrey could go on and make more movies just based on the momentum of these Sonic movies. And instead, Jim Carrey's announced that that's enough. He's saying he's retiring from acting. And in his announcement, he says, that's enough. I'm enough. And that's enough for him. And you know what? I respect that. He's achieved more than most. He's got more money than he'll ever need. He's gotten universal praise for so many of his performances. And rather than being insecure and needing more, he's secure in what he's done. He doesn't need any more. And I respect that. You know, I play video games. It's a hobby. I've got some video games. I've got a WrestleFest. I've got some other games, downstairs. And, it's a lot. To buy a pinball machine, in my mind, that's a lot. And, I watch some YouTube collectors. They're always out shopping and adding to their collection. They've got thousands of games. There's no way that they've got the time to master all those games, let alone play them. And I look at these people and I'm like, that is a disease. They're just collecting for the YouTube views and for the attention. It's a sickness in my mind. Why do you need all of those games? Why do you need all of that YouTube attention? It's the same thing with Vince McMahon. The same appetites that had brought him his success now has the potential. I think it's a long shot, but there is the potential it could bring down his downfall. Now, don't get me wrong. His daughter is the one who's the interim CEO. Is she going to stab her dad in the back? No, she's not. And don't get me wrong, I've been in a position where I had an interim replacement. That's all I can say about it. But look, by his own account, Vince McMahon's own account, he's been unfaithful in his marriage. And now, allegedly, he needs to notch this 41-year-old woman on his bedpost. If the Wall Street Journal is correct, there are other non-disclosure agreements in Vince's past. You could apply this reckless behavior to the rest of his life. He's 77 years old. There's no plan for succession should something happen to Vince in WWE. That's just reckless. Vince is a billionaire, the most successful wrestling promoter of all time. He launched Hulk Hogan, The Rock, John Cena, possibly even Roman Reigns, the political career of Glenn Jacobs. Linda was the head of the Small Business Administration under Trump. He's got a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. What more do you need? You've got enough wealth for your kids, your grandkids, probably your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-granddaughter. You sound like the Jonas Brothers. Anyway, these appetites, it's like after you stuff yourself at Thanksgiving, at some point, you need to pull yourself back from the table and go, God, That's enough turkey and Thanksgiving. You know, years ago, Bill Gates stepped down as the richest man in the world as the head of Microsoft, and he dedicated his life to philanthropy. He was much younger than Vince, and he's trying to bring sanitary conditions to parts of the underdeveloped world. You know, a very honorable things to do in my opinion. And Vince has done honorable things. He's paid for surgeries and done some nice things for certain talented people over the years. I'm not saying that he's not without his good points, but my God, how many more monuments to yourself do you need to build to yourself? And if you build to yourself, are they really monuments? You know, it's just like other baby boomers. I don't know. We'll talk about this and how much more he needs. Give me your thoughts on Twitter at Jim Valley. It's Jim Valley, Wrestling Observer Live, Sports Byline Broadcasting.
You're clear.
How would you like to publish and sell your own audiobook?
Oh my God. Oh, you want to bring up the sound?
Audiobooks. Consumers are mobile these days, and having an audiobook helps authors reach a larger customer base, which increases book sales. From narration, production, and editing to distribution, promotion, and sales, Audiobook Network does it all for you. We hold your hand throughout the entire production process. We'll create an audiobook that you can be proud of. It doesn't cost or take as much time as you may think. In fact, for us, it's pretty easy. It's what we do. If you've got a published print book, ebook, or even a manuscript, give Audiobook Network a call right now and get our free audiobook guide. 800-514-0521. 800-514-0521. That's 800-514-0521.
Listen up, guys. Are you experiencing any of the following? Fatigue, less drive, poor performance? If so, you may be one of the nearly 30 million men in the U.S. today dealing with ED. But did you know you don't have to pay hundreds for a prescription anymore? And you don't have to deal with the hassle of seeing the doctor or the embarrassment of going to the pharmacy for a certain pill. Now, with one free call, you can find out how Herbal Virility Max can help you feel like a man again. For over a decade, Herbal Virility Max has helped guys just like you put a smile back on their face with improved performance and drive. Call today and ask about our buy one, get one free offer.
800-761-9334. 800-761-9334. 800-761-9334. That's 800-761-9334. Airlines have just reduced their prices even more. Book 30 days in advance and save big.
Want the absolute lowest prices on your airline tickets? Then call the Low Cost Airlines Travel Hotline right now. For prices so low, we can't publish them anywhere. The only way to access our low rates and save up to 70% is to call. Save hundreds on your vacation tickets by calling right now. You can fly anywhere in the world and pay discount prices on your airline tickets. Book a flight today to London, Paris, Madrid, or anywhere else you want to go and pay a lot less guaranteed. Call the International Travel Department right now at Low Cost Airlines.
800-754-4531. 800-754-4531. 800-754-4531. That's 800-754-4531.
You are listening to Wrestling Observer Live on the Sports Byline Broadcasting Network.
It's Jim Valley, Wrestling Observer Live, 1-800-878-PLAY. 1-800-878-7529. Tweet me at Jim Valley talking about Vince McMahon and his insatiable appetites. And life is about stages. You grew up learning, in your 20s, you kind of find yourself, get a career maybe going in your 30s. You get a family maybe, you gain some traction in life, make some money. In your 40s and 50s, you're established. See the rewards of your seeds that you planted. These are kind of general timelines. Your results may vary, but Vince McMahon is going to be 77. Should be spending time with his grandkids, giving back to, the life that has given him so much and the opportunities he should be grateful to having. You shouldn't be banging a subordinate that's nearly half your age. Think about this. This woman, just talking about this one, was just out of diapers at the time Vince was promoting the first WrestleMania. She's 41. WrestleMania is what, 37, 38 years old? There's Driven, and there's a line where it's unhealthy. And that line can't even be seen in Vince McMahon's rearview mirror. You should look at yourself and realize that you've had enough and pull away from the table, whether it's money, power, sex. There's a point where the appetite becomes excessive, dangerous, and disgusting. Nothing is poisonous. It's the dosage that'll kill you. And don't get me wrong, I don't think this is going to be the end of Vince McMahon, but you can't have it all. And what he doesn't have are healthy relationships. And when it's all said and done, that's just really sad. 1-800-878-PLAY. Not that he cares. 1-800-878-7529. All right, Ryan's been patiently waiting. Ryan, you want to talk about Forbidden Door? What's on your mind?
My question about the pay-per-view is a two-parter. First question is, the Forbidden Door, is this an appetizer to the Tokyo Dome, where we might see like some angles set up that long in advance for some long-term storytelling? The second part of that question is, could this surpass all the other Tokyo Dome shows if they would decide to go that route next January?
Those are good questions. Thanks, Ryan. I appreciate the call. Thank you so much for calling at 1-800-878-PLAY. Yeah, I think obviously this is the time of year where you build to Tokyo Dome. This is always the time of year where Bullet Club in its incarnation takes a hold. The G1 obviously takes place, and we set up the number one contender to the title at, keep wanting to call it Forbidden Door, but at Wrestle Kingdom. And so, yes, I think it could be that. I think we will see ankles, and I think we'll see things that go toward the year. As far as the biggest Wrestle Kingdom, that's going to be a tough one. More than AEW and more than WWE. I think that New Japan has suffered from the pandemic because of travel and things. A lot of people have not been able to travel over and participate. People like John Moxley or Chris Jericho or whomever, people that might grab the attention of English-speaking wrestling fans in North America. So, yeah, I think that's going to be the challenge, is rebuilding that excitement and grabbing that attention that New Japan had. That's going to be the challenge. Usually the builds for AEW pay-per-views create excitement. And right now, Forbidden Door obviously doesn't feel like it has a lot of momentum. And I get there's a lot of politics involved, especially the way New Japan promotes shows. They've got to check some boxes of other shows before it could promote the Forbidden Door, in earnest. And, WWE gets a lot of criticism that they have a lot of recaps and video packages, especially on SmackDown and for premium live events. And AEW is very much about wrestling. When you watch the shows, you get more minutes of wrestling on AEW TV versus WWE TV. Don't get me wrong, that's a good thing. But it feels like Forbidden Door could have benefited from some video packages educating fans on New Japan, the stars, the history, the titles, and what's at stake. Now, certainly, there's a crossover with New Japan and AEW fans. But New Japan, probably more than WWE and AEW, was affected by the pandemic. It's clearly not as hot of a product as it's been in the past. And as things loosen up, I expect New Japan will heat up again. It's just going to take some time. And to kind of answer sort of Ryan's question, there's quality talent in the ring and behind the scenes in New Japan. And it will fully recover at some point. I just don't know that it's going to fully recover by the time Wrestle Kingdom rolls around. I think Excalibur and Jim Ross have done an excellent job of talking up New Japan and its talent. But I think some video packages showing how Tanahashi, for example, rose to prominence, showcasing his greatest matches, his showmanship, and his resilience, and even how winning the interim AEW title would cement his legacy even further. I think that would help even more showing, not just telling. And, obviously, Jeff Cobb has been exposed to the audience, but a video package maybe on the Great Khan would help. I mean, hell, even some of the Japanese audiences took some time before they fully warmed up to the Great Khan character. I mean, he's kind of a throwback. Even a refresher course on the relationship between Moxley and Shooter Umino would help. I tweeted about this, and some people were very critical of my stance. And look, I don't know. I know that this pay-per-view is aimed at me and aimed at a lot of other fans. I think some people on Twitter, when I was critical about this and said that they could do some video packages, they thought I needed the video packages. Not for me. I'm talking about other people. The point is you need the fans who are not interested to buy the show. And that's why I think you need those people. You need to attract them. And I think some video packages in this case would have helped. What are your thoughts? 1-800-878-PLAY. 1-800-878-7529. And yeah, I know some people saying use some of the digital packages, use the digital channels like YouTube. That would help. And they always do the Road to shows. And those Road to shows are excellent. But a lot of fans don't go out of their way to that. And that's why I think some educational packages would have helped. Hey, there are rumors that Sasha Banks may have gotten her release. And I don't know that those have been confirmed. And our own Andrew Zarian recently talked about Sasha Banks, and he's confirmed at least that her attorneys were working in getting her out of her WWE contract. There's another thing about Sasha Banks regarding the perceived value of Sasha Banks. And Andrew Zarian talks about that WWE views Sasha Banks as someone who they can clone with a competitor of their choice. Andrew says in their minds, quote, they could clone Sasha with somebody else and have her fit that role no problem. And it's now a role you're playing. And I'm not surprised by that. WWE clearly looks at their people as expendable. They're just talent. They're just meat puppets. And don't get me wrong, I think Sasha Banks is an exceptional talent. I don't see her that way, but other people, I think the company does. The company is bigger than any one talent. And whether or not she has a release or not, I think they're already trying to replace Sasha Banks. Don't misunderstand me. The woman Sasha Banks herself, Mercedes, is an individual. And I want to make it very clear we're talking about casting in Hollywood and television, movies, and WWE is about casting. And there are characters that can cover the same sort of ground. And maybe they're people of color that are similar, but it's more about the character. You know, for example, Sheamus and everybody in the Brawling Brutes, they sort of cover the same ground. They're from the UK. They speak with an accent. They fight. But for example, Bobby Lashley wouldn't cover the same ground as Kofi Kingston. Bobby Lashley is the muscle man. You could say that Raquel Rodriguez is a muscle woman, and she and Bobby Lashley are the strong men in the circus. Things like that when I'm talking about casting. So I would say, in my opinion, that I think they're already trying to replace Sasha with Bianca. And I think they already did. Bianca is younger. I don't know that Bianca is better yet. Bianca is younger. It's going to take time. But she's already being promoted as better. She's the EST of WWE. She's the fastest. She's the strongest. She's the whatever. And regardless that she's a woman of color, Sasha put her over and beat her in a big deal WrestleMania main event. So I think she's already been replaced. Now, in my opinion, they're two different characters, but I can see where that happened. But I mean, just because someone, trying to think, what other people cover the same ground that, you have on different shows? House of Black and the Judgment Day. They're sort of kind of the same sort of thing. That kind of thing. It's what does the character do? What is their look? What is more their attitude? More their look? And I would say that in many ways, that confidence, that's how Bianca and Sasha sort of cover the same thing. But no, I think definitely Sasha, like everybody else, is replaceable. But we'll see what happens to her once she leaves the company. I think she'll do well. Hey, Triple Mania is coming up. We'll run down the card before we wrap things up. It's Jim Valley, Wrestling Observer Live, Sports Byline Broadcasting.
You're clear.
No offense, but are you a little fat when you look in the mirror? How would you like to learn the secrets to lose 3 to 5 pounds a week easily without joining the gym or going through any crazy diets? It's called Body Sculpt by Med Diet. For the last 2 decades, we've been helping people just like you that have pounds they want to shed. We've helped millions of people lose thousands and thousands of pounds over the years. And now it's your turn. Learn the secrets of how to lose weight with one simple phone call. You'll see an amazing difference in a matter of days. Don't believe us? We'll offer you a money-back guarantee. If you're ready to start losing weight right now, call right now to learn more about your risk-free order to Body Sculpt.
Call for your risk-free offer. 800-738-5332. 800-738-5332. 800-738-5332. That's 800-738-5332.
I don't even recognize myself anymore.
I'm really worried about him. His addiction. I haven't seen him like this. Ever.
Hey, look, I never wanted to start using. I knew the drill, but I was out of options.
I just want to tell him it's not your fault. There are people out there who can help. People who have felt your pain. They know what you're going through.
This has to stop. I'm losing everything. Everyone.
You've been strong your whole life. You can do this, but you have to reach out for help.
It's time. I can do this.
Addiction is a disease, and diseases need treatment.
Call Quit Drugs 321 now at 800-378-3508, 800-378-3508. That's 800-378-3508. Paid for by the Detox and Treatment Helpline.
How is your car payment treating you? What if I told you you could make a free phone call right now and reduce your car payment by as much as $83 a month? Look at your car payment closely. You could be paying as high as 20% interest. Rate Genius can help you reduce your car payments by reducing your interest rate to as low as 2.48% APR. We can refinance most existing car loans or leased cars, new or used, and save you money every month. Put more money back in your pocket. The call is free to find out how low we can lower your car payment. 5 minutes of your time right now could save you hundreds of dollars a year. Call Rate Genius now.
800-811-7913. 800-811-7913. 800-811-7913. That's 800-811-7913.
Not all applicants qualify for a loan or rate savings. Actual offer terms, including APR, are determined at the time of your application based on creditworthiness, value of the vehicle, loan term, and other factors.
Oh, yes. It's Jim Valley, Wrestling Observer Live. Are we back? We're back. Hey, Triple Mania. It looks like the Hardys are pulled from the show. It's going to be Matt Hardy and a mystery partner taking on Dragon Lee and Dralistico at Triple Mania and the Tijuana stage of Triple Mania. Also, Psycho Clown takes on Viano 4. And then in a mask versus mask match, the final two competitors from Steel Cage match. And then Blue Demon Jr., my guy, versus, I'm wearing his hat today, versus Pentagon Jr., plus a 5-way for the AAA Latin American and Cruiserweight Championship. Also a 13-person Copa Triple Mania match, and then a women's Escape the Cage match. Triple Mania always got AAAs. It's like they always do some cool stuff, and then there's stuff that is just frustrating and just is a train wreck all the time. It's like there's moments of brilliance in Triple Mania shows, and then there's just stuff that is just a slog that is so awful. You're just like, how can they be so great and simultaneously terrible at the same time? I always wish them the best, but then there's always something that comes off that is just awful. So I wish Triple Mania the best, but it's always the same thing. There'll be moments of brilliance and then stuff that is just awful. So we'll see what happens. Probably some surprises as well. Could be a fun show that'll be on Fight TV. Anyway, a reminder, I will not be here next Saturday, but I'll be back the Saturday after. So you can follow me on Twitter at Jim Valley, and I'll talk to you in 2 weeks' time when I come back from Mexico. Thank you for all the birthday wishes. I always appreciate it, and I appreciate you as always. The effing King of Recovery. We'll be back next weekend, and until next time, don't forget, it's all at work. Jim Valley, Sports Byline Broadcasting Network.
All right, Jim.
Thank you, man.
Have a good one. I'll talk to you in a couple weeks. Have a great vacation, and I'll send you the file pretty shortly.
I appreciate it.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right.
Mourning the loss of one of their own. The Fire Commissioner Craig Murphy says the fallen firefighter was a 27-year veteran of the department.
This was just a catastrophic accident that really our department, and I know this member well, and